Hello and welcome to the Bedrock Podcast, recording from Dover Air Force Base's Innovation Lab. Here on the podcast, we are talking about leadership, innovation, and issues affecting our Dover community. I'm your host, Alex Griffin, and today I'm joined, very lucky to be joined, by both principals from our on-base schools, Mr. Jason Payne from George Welch Elementary and Miss Nicole Jones from Air Base Middle School. And as well, we're also joined by Colonel Tyler Schaff, our Mission Support Group Commander. Welcome to the program, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Both Mr. Payne and Ms. Jones bring 22 years experience from education to our great schools on base. Mr. Payne hails from the great state of West Virginia, and Ms. Jones comes from the first state of Delaware. Both vital community members here on Delaware, those schools being on base. It's a pretty cool situation we have here. And Colonel Schaff, our Mission Support Group Commander, been here for about 2 years. He's been in the Air Force for almost 26 years. He's been leading airmen for that long, and he's also been, he's got a daughter who's in the 7th grade, so he's been involved with schools that long as well. So again, welcome to the program, folks. Today we're going to talk about all things affecting the schools and how they impact our students and our families and our Dover community. So I'll just kick it off here and start with both Mr. Jones, Miss Jones and Mr. Payne. So tell us a little bit, how has the Caesar Rodney community, how have your individual schools, how have they adjusted to this kind of new learning environment that our students have been dealing with?
So
You want me to start that, Mr. Payne?
Oh, yep, sorry. So specifically for us, we went home on Friday, March 13th, like everyone else, expecting a weekend and hearing some things about the COVID virus. And next thing we know, we are now home, and we have been home for a while. And so as a school district, we had to develop a plan regarding how we could work with our students from home remotely. So as a school district, we made a plan. We then started to teach our teachers and prepare them for what this online learning platform was going to look like. We then started to roll out some of that information to parents. We got everyone acclimated, teachers and families, to this online platform. And then most recently, we have started some new learning with students at home. Mm-hmm. So that's been the biggest adjustment, just leaving school on March 13th on a Friday and then completely changing how we work with our students.
Yeah, it all changed, didn't it?
I think at the middle school level, though, as opposed to elementary, we already use Schoology on a regular basis. We also have a one-to-one device program at the middle school. So our students were used to logging into Schoology through the Clever portal each day and used to using Chromebooks each day. So I think that helped with our transition, but I definitely felt for those with the little guys, especially like kindergarten and first grade. I still wonder how how the miracles are happening each day with those little guys.
Yeah, interesting. So, I know we face this here in the Air Force, but for you all are leaders as well. How have you all had to adapt to leading in this situation?
Well, for myself now, I am a Zoom expert. We definitely, I'm what I would say is more of a people person. Like, I enjoy talking to people and interacting with people and reading people. And that's been the most difficult part for me.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore, can you?
Participating via Zoom and not being able to have one-on-one conversations, typically like, just walking down the hallway and getting a feel for how students are doing and families are doing and teachers are doing through this process. So that's been the most difficult part for me, is just trying to keep those established relationships and making sure that me as the administrator and the leader of the school, we're making sure that teachers are comfortable, families feel comfortable using the system, and those types of things.
Yeah. Ms. Jones?
And luckily through the district, we've had, along the way, we've learned some things. And so they set up a technology helpline, because it's hard sometimes for us, because we don't, as an administrator, we don't always see it from the screen of the student or parent. And so the technology helpline is help with that. They've also set up an instructional support helpline. As you know, they're still delivering the meals and then with ongoing staff professional development. But I'm with Mr. Payne. I like being around the kids. I miss being in the cafeteria, believe it or not. And empty hallways, it's just a really eerie feeling.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Coming back to an empty office or something like that. Yeah, Colonel Schaff.
Especially with everything in the summer, it feels different because stuff is off the walls. The building looks different in the summer, but it's very strange being in a building where literally we just walked out and everything's still exactly as it was when we left.
Yeah, you've got like St. Patrick's Day stuff up still or something like that.
Oh, yes.
Colonel Schaff, for you, I'm sure you've experienced some of the same leadership challenges that the principals are talking about. From your perspective, how have things changed for you, and how have you adapted a little bit?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. So, where do you really start on this? Just like the school administrator said, the next day we come in and we don't come to work, and we had to take a pause and figure out how we're going to adapt to this, because we have unlike a lot of the businesses and really the schools for that aspect, we have to get the mission done. Mm-hmm. And so there has to be a right level of tension to make sure that we keep our people safe, and we still need to perform that mission. We're accountable to our nation to make sure that we can deliver the goods that we need to do and get the job done. And so we started pretty slow, and we thought that was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And we've slowly been kind of working back through things, and obviously in concert with our nation, the Air Force, and for sure the state, to make sure that we're not too far ahead and we're not too far behind as we work through this.
Yeah, right on. I think that's all important stuff to say. We're all just trying to move at the right speed, and that's hard to find that balance, I think. So, Colonel Schaff, I think your daughter had a question that she wanted to pass along. Would you like to ask that to the principals?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much. So one of the things I've been telling the folks in the mission support group is, hey, this is an opportunity to look at some of our processes or some of the things that we've done in the past that take up a lot of bandwidth or maybe are not the best processes. And as we work back into bringing folks back to work, we need to identify those processes that we maybe no longer need to do, or there's a much better way of doing those. And so as I've been spending a little bit more time around my daughter than normal, we've been talking about these things. And so I asked her today, I said, hey, what kind of question would you ask for Principal Payne and Principal Jones? And she actually asked the question is, what things have you adapted to that you may not start back up again, or a process may have changed for the good that you just weren't tracking previously?
If you don't mind, Mr. Payne, I'll hop in here as I have Alexis currently. And I actually love this question. And one of the things that first came to my mind is that because we have military families, it's who we serve, there's oftentimes either before or after a deployment where there's respite time. And so families will often go on vacation or spend time together before the family member goes away or once they reintegrate. And so I think the remote learning is an opportunity for that. For instance, we had a young lady go to Germany for about a month, and we already had the online platform of Schoology, so she was able to participate in some capacity. But I think this opens up doors for students who maybe have a medical issue or maybe have a military need with regard to the respite that can provide instruction ongoing, even during leave. So for instance, let's say, Mrs. Torgerson, because that's who Alexis has. So yep. She could provide, while Mrs. Torgerson was teaching a live class, let's say if that class were being, recorded or Zoomed or something of that sort, Alexis could still participate, or another student could still participate while being away as if they were there to some degree.
Yeah, interesting. That's pretty, that's a good way to think about it. I guess for our listeners, not everybody might understand the situation we have here. We have a local school district who has 2 schools on the Air Force installation. While that's not a singular thing in the Air Force, it's certainly an important thing important distinction and something to highlight, because not everybody has that relationship. I've been to several installations that don't have that, and it's pretty awesome. Not only for the service member, to have that environment for your kid. My 3rd grader. It is very special for him to be able to go to school, and he even says it that all the kids in his class know what he's going through, and he knows, conversely, what those other kids are going through. He's even said, hey, my friend's mom is deployed and I've been extra nice to her or whatever. So that's pretty awesome that I think that we have that situation here.
Yeah, and that's one area I don't want to left unsaid today is that's another opportunity being the mission support group commander is myself or my deputy go to the Caesar Rodney School Board meetings. And I'll tell you, the superintendent, Dr. Fitzgerald, and the school board president, Ms. Jessica Morelli, they really treat us as part of their team. And so I know we have the on-base schools here today, but it's really an opportunity for all the schools in the entire community who do such a concerted effort to make sure that all the uniqueness of the military child's taken into play here. And so, that's another reason that I'm really interested in doing this podcast and talking through this, because the amount of effort that the entire, actually all the districts put into making sure that our kids are included and accounted for during not only this time but all times is just something that we can't say thank you enough for.
Yeah, that's very important. Kind of moving ahead a little bit, I realize that all this hasn't been decided yet, but what can students and parents, as of now, what can we expect in the fall?
Super good question.
Let's figure it out here.
We're asking ourselves those same questions right now. Good. It's really hard to determine at this point what the fall will look like. We obviously are under the direction of our superintendent and the school board, as well as the Department of Education. And right now, the Department of Education has created some working groups specifically around that topic, like what will school look like in the fall? So even right now as a state, they're trying to determine what that might look like. So I can say I have not a single answer regarding what it might look like, but Stay tuned. There are definitely people working and talking about what that should or could look like for us in the fall.
Yeah, awesome.
And Mr. Payne, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that one of those meetings happens today at 2:00, right? That was a meeting that was rescheduled. I believe it's today at 2. Yes, yep.
That is correct.
Well, if it's one thing we're used to in the Air Force, it's being flexible. So I think we're have no problem being patient for that answer. And I know there's a lot of smarter people than us working on it. So that's good to hear. As we also look towards the future a little bit, there's been a big construction site over there next to the schools. I didn't know if Colonel Schaff or either of you all would like to talk about that a little bit. What is that over there?
Yeah, I'll tell you, we are really excited about the new elementary and the middle school that has been funded by DODEA, but will be part of the CR school district. It's going to be built to host about 490 children, and I'll let Mr. Payne and Ms. Jones fill in any of the void that I have here, but I went through the plans again yesterday just to refamiliarize myself, and it's really going to be awesome. It's DODEA's 21st century school concept with flexible learning spaces that encourage students and teacher collaboration. It'll have movable walls for maximizing the use of space, display areas for student work. Actually, we'll have outdoor or outside classrooms that will have an overall nature-based theme that will make use of all the natural resources in the area. It'll have performance, common dining areas that are flexible, computer labs, science labs, information centers, a couple gymnasiums, and then the sports fields will all be relocated as well. And there'll be demonstration PV panels, demonstration weather station, solar hot water collection, all connected to an energy dashboard that will display information from these features. Wow. So I am really excited about the potential for this school. We're struggling a little bit on the timeline with some of the weather, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's delayed a little bit. And I know the current school we're in right now has been there for a while, and I know everybody's anxious to move over to the next one, but I think the little extra wait is going to make it all worth it. Anything that I missed out there to either of the principals that you guys are looking forward to, or any of the learning objectives that may change based to this really cutting-edge technology of the school?
On a side note, the first thing I thought about was those collapsible walls in outdoor classrooms could probably come in handy real soon.
You got that right. It's almost like we knew.
Social distancing at its best. I think we need to move up the timeline.
Well, we're trying.
One of the things I would like to highlight I think we are pretty unique in the area as well, as even though we're two separate schools in one building, there aren't a lot of kindergarten to 8th grade facilities around. And
It's true.
I myself, not being native to Delaware and getting to know the military families, that they rely heavily on their neighbors and their friends because their families are not necessarily close by. So I think one of the biggest assets of our current building and the new building will be the joint connectedness of two separate facilities, just to kind of give that family feel in a small community to people that really do rely on their neighbors a lot and their friends because their families aren't necessarily close by.
That's a good point. Yeah, definitely. You walk into any building and you can kind of get a sense of the culture and the environment. And there's no doubt when you walk into that school, that facility over there, you feel, how important the students are and the kind of family atmosphere that exists. It's really cool. It's a neat thing you'll have going on over there. As we talk about, the kind of the military lifestyle and, how you all support that. You all have a lot of different education experiences to draw on here, but how different is it, and what do you all do specifically to kind of cater or help develop those military kids?
What's one of the hardest things as administrator when you become a principal of a school is what's common amongst all of our students and our families that we can kind of build something on. And fortunately for Ms. Jones and I, we kind of plopped right into the glaring thing. What's the commonality between of all of the families in our community? And it's clearly the military for us. So we definitely try to play on that heavily. At Welch, we have a passport system that when families attend our school functions, they get a sticker for their passport book, and the kids move up in rank just like their parents do. And then we give out prizes for those types of things. Our guidance counselor does TDY groups for kids if their parents are deployed. We celebrate Armed Forces Day, Month of the Military Child. We do friendship groups for kids that are new to our building. We do passports around the world where students kind of research a country, oftentimes one that they personally have been to. We do have students that are world travelers, which is also unique in my educational experience, that we have so many kids that have been so many places and come with worldly experience that's really beneficial and something we can use to our advantage.
Yeah, that's very true.
Agreed. And at the middle school level, what we try to greet the families. They're coming, sometimes almost right off the plane, and they're still jet lagged and they're strolling in with their paperwork. So we try to help with all that as much as we can. So military families are really good about bringing a lot of the information with them, but if something got lost in the move, we always reach out to the schools, especially at middle school, because I try to cater their schedule to their needs. So we might have a kid that comes in who had advanced coursework in one area, but not in another. For instance, we have a student who attends part-time at the high school and part-time at Dover Air Force Base Middle School because she had already earned high school credit in her previous state. So we really, as a district and as a school, try to cater the needs of the families around the master's schedule and their needs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely the transitory lifestyle sometimes of the Air Force can present some challenges for you guys, I'm sure. But a personal anecdote, I guess, is, my son's first memories of school, kindergarten, first grade, and stuff were in Germany, and he was used to traveling all over the place. And we were about to PCS to MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. And one day we were walking to first grade, and he said, "Dad, I'm really worried about the move." And I said, "Well, what's bothering you?" And he said, "Well, I'm just really worried." And I said, "Well, what can I do to help? What's the matter?" And he said, keep in mind, this is a kid who, in 30 minutes we were in another country and kids all around spoke different languages. And he said, "Well, Dad, I'm worried that we're moving to this place and I don't speak Tampan." And he didn't realize that they spoke English in the school in Florida. And so for him, that's just a totally different perspective that, most kids in the country don't grow up with. And so it's definitely something unique that you all do a great job of kind of helping those kids grow and learn in a really, really great environment over there. So we're talking about that. I think that things like the Month of the Military Child and why we do stuff like that, why do you all think some of that stuff's important?
Well, I mean, it's an honor to serve those who serve us. So we have to recognize the all the good and all the bad that comes with that. Sometimes we know what it's like for all of our kids to be the new kid at school. And so we understand that the military lifestyle is important to them. So we really try to honor them through the different events that we do. So Mr. Payne and I, since we've been together, and Mr. Payne and I actually go way back, even prior to our time at the two military schools. So we coordinate events during the entire month of Military Child to celebrate and honor those families.
Awesome.
Mr. Payne, you want to hop in there?
I was just going to mention that, every time we do Month of the Military Child ceremonies and we have a guest speaker, and it's always usually someone from the base who themselves was a military child. Like, they often talk about, as a military member, that you chose that, you enlisted, you became part of that, but these kids were just born into this environment. Like, they move regularly, they have new friends, they say goodbye friends, and it's not really something that they chose for themselves. So we always try to make sure we remember that, this is their lifestyle that was kind of given to them by their parents, and it's wonderful opportunities to be able to move and see different places, but at the same time they also do say goodbye to friends and know that they'll be moving again soon and all of those things. So we try to make sure not to forget that this was something that they didn't choose for themselves. It's really just the lifestyle that they have grown up knowing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And also, as Colonel Schaff, I think it was Colonel Schaff that said earlier, because we have a relationship with a local school district and the military installation, that's different. I mean, some of our families are coming from other places where they just attended a school off base, so sort of a typical public school as opposed to one that's located on an installation. So because all of our kids are military, they know what it's like to be that new kid. So we put in place when families enroll. If I'm present in the building at that time, I personally introduce myself, offer a tour. We set the kid up with a student ambassador to show them around. Oftentimes, some of the kids will say it's overwhelming because all the kids there know what it's like to be the new kid, so they want to help out so much. And so the kid's already overwhelmed on their first day, and then they have 100 kids in their face trying to be helpful. So sometimes that's actually overwhelming, which is sort of an interesting thing, because in the
people are
spirit
too
of being
nice.
helpful,
People are too nice.
It's too much for them sometimes. So I think because this is the life we live every day, we forget that they may leave our school and go to another school where some of those kids have been there their whole life. They haven't moved every 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years. So I think that's something that we have to be mindful of to make sure that because we have that opportunity, that we continue to take advantage of having that military lifestyle all in one place.
Yeah, it's very important. Colonel Schaff, did you have anything else you'd like to ask?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of rewind a little bit and talk a little bit about why we had this idea to do this podcast. So the Bedrock, which is the innovation lab here on Dover Air Force Base, they've been doing podcasts with different leaders that come to base, and they'll have a good session and talk to them, and the audience is mainly military members, and so we had an idea that maybe doing something with the school will open up our aperture a little bit here and get some of our families involved in some of these, and the reason I think that's important as all conversations right now lead back to COVID, unfortunately, is as I've been talking to my daughter, we have TMO next week and we're PCS in the week after, and part of the challenges she's having with COVID right now is she doesn't have the closure with school. She has said many times, I don't get to thank my teachers, I don't get to say goodbye to them, I don't get to thank the administrators, the staff. And so unsolicited, she wrote a note the last couple days over Schoolology to every one of her teachers, thanking them for what they've done. And so I've seen the parades that you guys have put on through the through the base housing, honking horns, and some of the emotion snuck up on me, seeing how much the staff cares, how much the teachers care, and what that meant to the kids. And so, as I thought about different topics for podcasts, I just thought this would be a real special one, because I do believe that number one, many of the students won't be coming back next year due to the nature of what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. But second of all, that just to have the school year over. I know Mr. Payne is working I'm not sure what term you use, but as they graduate to the next level, and those will be leaving Miss Jones to go to high school as well. They're not going to get those goodbyes, those graduations, and I have seen firsthand that that's taken much more of a toll than I anticipated. And so I think this is important. And so I'll just kind of push that back to you guys. And, if you'd like to address the parades and maybe how your staff felt about that. And also what, from the perspective of the staff and the teachers, it's probably a little bit different for them. But they also don't get the opportunity for closure. They put their whole hearts into watching the kids progress through the year, both emotionally and intellectually, and they don't really get to see the end of that. So wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that as you're doing all these Zooms and talking to your teachers and finding out where they're emotionally thinking on this, and kind of an opportunity to speak on behalf of them as hopefully this podcast will get some exposure to our families out there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a bit of a sap, so I get very emotional just even talking or thinking about it. And so at the parade, we had locker pickup. We actually have scheduled a 8th grade moving up drive-in moving up ceremony for our 8th grade students. And I know I'm going to cry. That's just part of who I am. But it's hard enough to see kids go at the end of the year anyway. But like Mr. Payne said, everything just stood still. So you walk back in and, where the books are and where the pencils are, that's where they sit. And so it's definitely an emotional time. So we do what we can, although I'm sure it's never enough. But the parades are as much for the kids as they are for us. Now, some of our middle school kids said that was a bit elementary, but I still saw some of them out there waving to us anyway. And our staff really got a kick out of it. We're a bit hokey over there at Air Base Middle, so we really got a kick out of seeing all the kids out there celebrating all of us and each other.
And for us, even though we're interacting every day with kids on Zoom, it's still not three-dimensional. And so even when because we just did a teacher parade and then the monthly military child parade, and we have 2 upcoming scheduled, a kindergarten graduation and a 5th grade moving on ceremony. And the thing I remember before doing the first one, I was very excited. I thought it was going to be great. And then it became very emotional when you see families standing on the corner and they've made a sign for you, saying that they miss you, they miss school. That really kind of brings it back to perspective outside of I'm on a Zoom session trying to teach you a topic, that everybody's kind of in this together. And when that human element of it is really what I think brings out the emotion in all of our staff, because the parades were so long that I would be coming out of a cul-de-sac and seeing staff members coming into the cul-de-sac in their vehicles, and you can see people crying, their staff members driving and crying, and
I'm sure of it.
It's very emotional because, as a teacher and administrators, you are with kids all day long, and they tell funny stories, and there's always something new and exciting. And when you're on the computer, part of that is missing. No one's getting a hug. No one's hearing about, I'm sitting in these Zoom sessions and kids are showing their pets, look, we got a new puppy, that interaction, it's so much more than just teaching a lesson. And when you drive through the neighborhood and you actually get to see your families again, it is very, very emotional.
That's true. Yeah, my son's always trying to show off his younger sister in his Zoom calls, so I see that all.
Oh yes, we've seen lots of siblings.
Love the siblings. I love the siblings.
It's awesome though.
Lots of show and tell in elementary. Look, I have here's Buzz Lightyear. Lots of things. Everyone just wants to share.
Yeah, that's right. Well, cool. Did you all have anything else you all would like to throw out there today or talk about?
No, I would just like to share, and I think I can speak for Miss Jones. We both worked in other schools, and it truly is a privilege and an honor to be able to work on the Air Force installation. I've lived here 22 years, and the Air Force Base is kind of unique. Like, I lived here my whole life and I didn't have an access card to get onto base. So it's like the best kept secret in the local area. And until you really kind of come into it and really appreciate the families, the children, the work that their parents are doing, it really is a really unique, wonderful place. And I think I can speak for both of us. We're very honored and privileged to be able to serve as principals of both of these schools.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I used to come out and swim in the pool with friends that lived on base because we didn't have a guard check there then. And it's still even starting as the principal 4 years ago, I didn't anticipate, and I don't know why I didn't anticipate just the difference when the kids are saying the pledge, the patriotism and the pride that they feel. It is such a proud place to work because you don't just have school spirit, but you also have military spirit. And so I think it's just a dynamic, awesome mix. And when we have the month of the military child events and the speakers, I mean, it's usually not a dry eye in the place. It really is just such a unique thing. And having grown up here and went to CR and lived in this community, I don't know that I anticipated feeling differently. I just thought it would just be, a new adventure, a new school, but just that pride and patriotism piece was really moving for me and continues to be.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Colonel Schaff, did you have any parting thoughts?
Yeah, so you guys both represent, like I mentioned in the beginning, all the staff and the administrators and the teachers out there that do such an awesome job supporting our military children. And even Mr. Payne's one of our honorary commanders here on base. Unfortunately, we haven't got to do all the things we wanted to do due to COVID. But you guys are equally important to us as we know the kids are to you guys. And so I did not want to miss the opportunity today. I know you've seen that I've written an article about the CR School District and their support for us, but just the heart and passion that you put into making sure that our children get the max experience. It's I have one daughter, as I've mentioned, and they become way more important to you than I would have ever realized, and so we entrust you with that, and you guys pass times 10 every single time I've seen here. As we're sponsoring new people coming in this summer, the first topic that comes up is hey, this school district here and these schools on base, they will really take care of your children. They'll challenge your children, and the teachers are great, the staff's great, and so I do not want to miss the opportunity just to say thank you guys and thank you for being such a huge part of the experience here at Dover Air Force Base. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we do you.
Yeah. So, and myself as well. I just want to say thank you to not only to the larger Caesar Rodney community, but also the teachers and the administrators over there at Welch and Air Base Middle School, Ms. Jones and Mr. Payne. Thank you all so much for what you do every day. It's not lost on us how much you all care about those kids and care about those schools. So thank you all for joining us today. Appreciate you all listening. This is the Bedrock Podcast.